Okay, so you have knee pain from arthritis, and pills and ice and heat and braces and creams and therapy haven't worked. What is the best injection for your knee pain? Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Adam Rosen. Thanks again for tuning in. In today's video, I'm going to jump right into this. I'm going to cover everything that I can share with you about injections because patients have questions. I've covered some of these in individual talks, so I'm going to try to keep this short, but injections are a frequent thing that I do in the office for people that have pain, that have arthritis, that have failed conservative care like weight loss, exercise, strengthening, therapy, and pills, braces, creams. These are people maybe that aren't ready or don't want surgery, so there's a lot of options. Now, cortisone is probably the most frequent injection that I give in the office. Has a lot of pros and has some small cons that a lot of people are concerned about. So the pro is it reduces pain, it reduces inflammation, it reduces swelling. It might last 3 or 4 months. It improves your quality of life. All good things. People are concerned about the risks and side effects. Well, for any of these injections that I talk about, injection risk, pain short-lived, infection low. Um, those are sort of the two that are common across all of these. Now, cortisone can increase your sugars if you're diabetic. Most common side effect that I see, and I always warn patients about this. Um, the systemic side effects that people are always worried about isn't cortisone and prednisone bad. Pills, intravenous steroids, yes, a lot of side effects that can affect your whole body. We just don't typically see those in injections because the amount of cortisone is so small and it stays in the joint typically. And studies have looked at, does cartilage get damaged by cortisone? And there are studies that show this, but usually these are high concentrations and high volumes, and the amount of cortisone we're giving for arthritis is really, really small. There's actually more studies that show that the local anesthetic, the canes, the marcaine, lidocaine, bupivacaine, can cause even more damage to the cartilage, and we don't use very much of that and very low concentrations compared to what was used in these pain pumps years ago. It actually killed cartilage. Now, the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgery puts out guidelines for a lot of these treatments and injections. And most injections on these last guidelines have been downgraded a little bit, but it is still listed as something that may decrease pain and symptoms from arthritis. Now, the next injection that I give frequently in the office is what's called intra-articular Toradol. So if you've had surgery or had a kidney stone, you were probably given Toradol in the hospital or in the emergency room. You can give it intramuscularly, intravenous, it even comes in a pill, and we can use it in the joint. And a lot of doctors aren't even familiar with this, but it is not a steroid, so it's a different class, but it's an anti-inflammatory. So it's more like Advil, Motrin, Aleve, but in injection form. I find it to be great for people that have sugars that get crazy with cortisone, or cortisone stopped working, or they don't like the idea of cortisone injections. It is an option, and most studies do show that the response to cortisone and Toradol is pretty similar. Next injection that I recommend to patients is what's called PRP, or platelet-rich plasma. There's a lot of good data over the past few years that does show that taking your blood, spinning it down, taking the concentrated platelets, injecting it into the knee can decrease pain and inflammation, and in most studies for 4 to 6 months. The downside is it's expensive. It's not covered by insurance, so you have to pay cash. And I would suspect with more time, we'll have more data. What I always tell patients is I can't say is, what is its effectiveness in your type of arthritis because it's being used for lots of different things. And we don't have different grade like mild arthritis, severe arthritis, moderate arthritis, no arthritis, and what the responses are differently. But the concern might be that severe arthritis patients may not do as well as people that have more mild arthritis, but PRP, or platelet-rich plasma, is an option. Now, the other question that I get asked a lot about is what's called hyaluronic acid, or the visco supplements, or people refer to it as the rooster comb shot. And these are companies that produce this injection like Synvisc and Orthovisc and Euflexa and Durolane and Monovisc. Um, and I'm leaving out probably 5 or 6 others. Do I recommend it? No. Does the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgery recommend it any longer? No. Neither does the American College of Rheumatology. And most studies over the past 5 or 10 years haven't really shown that it reduces pain any better than a placebo. And studies do show that these injections can cause what's called a pseudoseptic reaction. And studies range in this incidence anywhere from 3% to 20%, depending on the brand. And it's a painful red hot swollen knee that looks like an infection that usually requires another aspiration of fluid and labs and hospital stays. It's pretty miserable. Now, is it still FDA approved? Yes. Do I give it? Yes. Do I have patients that have had repeated injections over time and have had success or decreased pain from the injection? Yes. Is it something that I recommend in the beginning? No, but it's still out there, and we are seeing less and less of it being used as more and more insurance companies are starting to deny it due to lack of scientific evidence, but it's out there. Now, stem cells. Do I recommend stem cells? No. It lacks scientific evidence, and that's what most academies and associations say is there's just no scientific evidence that proves that it does anything. Now, understand that in the US, it is illegal to take a stem cell and manipulate it and put it back in the human body because a stem cell can become anything. So when I try to discuss this with patients, what I explain is if a stem cell can be anything and we inject a billion stem cells into your knee, each one of those individual stem cells has to decide to turn into a cartilage cell, not a brain cell, heart cell, liver cell, skin cell, kidney cell. And it has to decide to attach itself to where you're missing cartilage, not your ligaments, tendons, bones, meniscus, while you're walking, bending, and straightening. And when you think about it that way, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It'd be like pouring stem cells on the head of a bald guy and expecting hair to sprout. Just doesn't work that way. Now, can we grow cartilage? Yes, from stem cells. And we have a lab, and some of my partners that work in the lab are incredibly brilliant, and they can actually grow sheets of cartilage from stem cells. What we still don't know how to do is how to get that onto the bone. And I still suspect it'll be a surgical procedure when that day comes where we'll grow your cartilage, you'll have surgery, we'll remove the bone spurs and somehow stitch, glue, tack, adhere this cartilage to the end of your bone. But currently spending 5, 10, 15, $20,000, I personally believe is absurd. I always tell my patients if they're going to spend that money, get it in writing that they prove to you that it's going to make a difference. And we'd love to see x-ray evidence that it does something, or even arthroscopic surgery picture evidence that there was actually a change. But currently that is lacking as of today. Things can change tomorrow or next year. Now, understand there is no best injection, and there are lots of things out there when people have pain and go searching for treatment. So you will also hear about things like amniotic fluid injections and adipose injections, which are fat cell injections. And do I recommend that to patients? No. There are studies that pop up that show that these are helpful. I would still give you caution in searching out some of these alternative treatments until there's more clear evidence and data that it helps and doesn't do harm. Now, I'm sure you're saying, well, yeah, but what about the thing in Germany that I saw about the injecting cartilage? And you have to be careful of what you see on the internet, even what I tell you. Question everything that I say and research it yourself and find out whether or not it's truthful and whether or not you believe it. Now, 20 plus years ago, there was a um, treatment called Carticel. So what we would do is if you had like an isolated cartilage defect, we could go in and arthroscopically scrape off some cartilage, send it to a lab. They would grow your cartilage cells in a syringe. We would do a second surgery, make a small incision, and cut off the periosteum, which is the layer of tissue over the bone, over the top of the shin bone. And we would patch that and stitch it. And before putting in the last stitch, we would inject these cartilage cells and then put the last stitch in. And the goal was to try to help your body regrow cartilage. And it worked sometimes. And that's basically what this is. So this is still a arthroscopic procedure where they go in with a gel to try to fill that contained isolated defect. So this is not a treatment for people that have global arthritis. You can't just inject this in the knee and then cells will grow cartilage on the ends of your bone. But it has been portrayed that way on social media. And the last two things that I'll leave you with are ultrasound. So do I use ultrasound? No. Do I give tons of injections and I operated on thousands of knees, and do I know the anatomy really, really well? Yeah. I always say I don't know a lot, but I do know a lot about knees. I'm very comfortable giving injections. I know the angles, I know the anatomy, and I also know how it's supposed to feel, and I can stop if I feel like I went too far, not far enough, and adjust the needle and make sure that I get a nice, easy depress of the syringe so I know that the medicine is going in the knee. Now, ultrasounds in studies have been able to show that needle placement is about 80% accurate in people without ultrasound and 99% accurate with the ultrasound. So if you have someone giving you an injection that does not do a lot of injections, probably not a bad idea for them to use the ultrasound. We just don't have it available. So I don't have an option of using it or not using it. Now, if I have someone that has a small joint that needs to be injected, like in the foot or the hand or even in the hip because it's deep, I do refer them to our specialists that use either ultrasound or x-ray because we want to confirm that the needle is going to the right place. And the very last thing that I'll leave you with are like, what are the instructions after you get one of these injections? And what I will tell you is I have never seen in a book or a journal article a specific guide of instructions after injection, but I know lots of doctors and they all have a different approach. Some take it easy for a week, take it easy for 3 days, take it easy for 2 days, take it easy for one day. And I had a patient. Actually, I haven't seen him in a long time, but he lived in the town over from our clinic, and it was a big hill to go down and up to get from that town to the clinic. And he had bad knee arthritis, but he rode his bike a lot, and he would ride his bicycle, not an e-bike, regular bicycle to the clinic, get knee injections, and ride his bicycle home. And after that, I thought, why am I telling people to take it easy and rest? So I basically tell people now to just do what you feel you can within reason. I do tell people to stay out of the water, so pool, ocean, hot tub for 24 hours because you do have a little pinhole. If they're going to exercise, I usually say, hey, I wouldn't do leg day, today. Like I wouldn't leave and get on a bike or do squats and take a leg class. But if you feel up to playing golf tomorrow, should be totally fine. Just realize that if you call the nurse in a day or two or three and complain that your knee is painful and sore and swollen, and they ask what you were doing and you did any of those, they're always gonna say you did too much. But there's a lot of people that are able to do pretty much everything after a shot and not have much of an issue. Now, simple things you can use like ice if you go home and it's sore. You can use over-the-counter pills if they're not contraindicated for you if you're sore, but usually the Band-Aid can stay on for an hour. It's pretty rare to have bleeding. I do see bleeding more in patients that are on blood thinners, so we might add a little bit more compression and have them leave that compression on for a little bit longer to prevent the risk of bleeding. But we typically do not have people stop blood thinners because they're coming in for an injection. Now, that's different. Like if you're getting an injection in your back, like an epidural, they're going to have you stop blood thinners because there's a greater risk of bleeding back there. But when we inject a joint like a knee, the risk of bleeding is so minimal that we will do that even if you're on Plavix, Eliquis, Xarelto, Coumadin, and things like that. So I hope this hasn't been too long, and I hope it's been informative. I hope it's answered your questions. If you've had some of these injections, leave it in the comment section. What did you have and what was your experience? And maybe if there's something that I left out that you'd like me to look into and cover and talk about in a future episode, put that in the comments also. Like always, thanks again for watching. I'm Adam Rosen. If you enjoy this content, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe and click the little, notifications tab so you get updates when these new videos come.